So we now have this opportunity to sit in meditation while listening to the Dhamma. So today, it's the day that there's many members of the Sangha and the laity who had known Venerable Ajan Tano. And he had ordained as a monk in total for many years, about 12 years. But through the natural qualities of the sankharas, conditioned phenomena, and he departed. And so this is the khandha mara, and so the mara of these aggregates. And the mara is that which obstructs or provides obstacles towards our creating goodness. And so for him, he was currently creating the goodness of living the holy life, of cultivating his mind. But this Mara came to remove that opportunity. And so this is the Khandhamara of the body, that which obstructs our creating goodness. And so there was a time, during the time of the Buddha, that there was a merchant who would go from city to city selling his wares. And he would think about what he was going to buy and where he would take that and how much he would sell it for in the next city and what profits he would be making. And he was a friend of Venerable Ananda. So this shows that he had a lot of merit to be close to Venerable Ananda. But the Buddha could see that he had some dangers awaiting him. And so the Buddha said, or indicated this to Venerable Ananda, and Venerable Ananda asked, and the Buddha said that this merchant friend of yours, his life is not sure. So then Venerable Ananda hurried to go tell his friend this, and his friend had the wisdom to realize that his life was not going to last for very long. And since Ananda has said this to me, so he was intent then to train his mind and to bring about samadhi, to meditate. And that night he attained to stream entry, to Sotapanna. And so this attaining to Sotapanna, what that is seeing the truth of form, of feelings, of perception, mental formations and sense consciousness, that these are inconstant, changing things, and that's its nature. And they are things which we shouldn't attach to as being me, belonging to me. So we can see that this is the nature of sankharas. It's the way that they are. And so like just before we listened to the Abhidhamma chanting, talking about the various causes and conditions. So like the body has food as its cause for it to stay alive. That's how it is, isn't it? It has the conditions of the breath, of liquids, of food. And this allows for these four elements of earth, water, fire and air to be able to come together and stay together. But if there's fault with them, if they're not working together well, then this is when illness arises. So we actually have that illness already within our bodies and the cells of our bodies, and that these cells are constantly being produced and they're also degrading, decaying all the time. And the cells help to repair the body as well. But when the body starts to deteriorate and the cells which repair the body start getting less and less, And then illness starts becoming more and more, and we start aging more and more. And wherever it is that there is deterioration, and then the elements become troubled, painful in that spot. And so there's aging that happens there, there's pain that happens there, and then eventually the whole body dies. So some people, they live to the full human lifespan, and it's natural that the body has its own lifespan. The Buddha taught us that we should gain an understanding and that we should study and contemplate into the Dhamma. And to see this first, before we pass away, which is to die before we die, and before the body actually dies. Because whatever the case, this body does need to pass away. It does need to break apart, to deteriorate. So like Venerable Tano, he'd taken up the brahmacharya, the holy life, for over 10 years. So there was 13 years that he was a monk, that he was meditating and getting results from his meditation. And if for a layperson to practice for their whole life, it doesn't compare to someone who has been practicing as a monk for 13 years. But due to causes and conditions, that his body needed to pass away, he needed to relinquish it. But he also had this determination to ordain. And even so, the body is subject to this khandha mara. And so this happens then. In the future, if he was in a future life determined to ordain, the body again will be subject to this khandha mara. But he had this firm determination in his mind. And there was this satya, this truthfulness there, a great respect towards the Buddha, taking the Buddha as his highest refuge, the Dhamma as his highest refuge, the Sangha as the highest refuge of his life. And that he had that determination and truthfulness right until the very end of his life. And he still maintained that firmness in his heart. And so one of his helpers, Venerable Ajan had said this, that he was very firm in the Buddha Sasana. He had this sincerity and firmness in his heart. And this is a really important foundation. Some people, they live a very long life, perhaps 100 years, but they don't create much goodness in this world. And they can't compare then to someone who practices for just one day and night, who has a heart which is very firm in its devotion, faith towards the Buddha. So therefore we can see that this is the case for Tano, that he had practiced a lot. But it's also the nature of sankharas to change. And this is something that we need to understand as well. But the heart, it's something else. And so there was one awakened teacher that I had gone to see, and he was very unwell at that point. And I asked him, well, how are you? And he said, well, it's fine, I'm not anything. And in not many days after that, he had passed away, that his body had broken apart. But what he said was referring to his heart, that his heart was fine, it's not anything. And it's the body, it has this nature of sankharas to deteriorate, and that's just how it is. It's not something we're able to escape from. So like the lay disciples of the Buddha, Anandapindika and Lady Visakha. Anandapindika, he had become a Sotapanna, a stream enterer. And his heart was very firm in generosity, in virtue, in wisdom. And he had cultivated these paramis. But even so, he had one of his children, a daughter, who passed away while she was quite young, if I remember correctly, around the age of 18. Lady Visakha also had a granddaughter who passed away. And she was very sad because this granddaughter was intelligent and very good, was capable in organizing offerings of food to 500 monks. So she was sad when this granddaughter passed away. But after receiving Dhamma from the Lord Buddha, saying that if you love 100 things, then you'll have 100 sufferings, 100 sources of suffering. And through that, then she regained her mindfulness, and she was able to understand that this is normal. This is something that's natural for the body to break apart. But what breaks apart? It's just the body. What about the mind? This isn't something that disappears, it doesn't break apart. That it travels further in this cycle of samsara, following the merit and the inclinations that it has. So Tanyo had developed a lot of parami, and he ordained for many years, took up this holy life. And even though he is now separated, but the goodness that he had created, which was a lot of goodness, it's still here. That he had attended on many great teachers, especially Luang Por Anan. And he had also helped to translate for many of these teachers, to take them around Thailand and to take them overseas as well. So then he had helped many people from all over the world receive these teachings on Dhamma. So all these things that he had done, this great good karma that he had created in this life, even though it's his sankharas which are now separated, and it's just those sankharas, but that goodness that he had created, it's still here. It's something that we can still remember. And so we can see that he actually has a lot of merit, that this year there are many senior members of the Sangha who have come to Australia, firstly come to Sydney, and now they're on their way to Buddha Bodhiwana Monastery. There's over 60 monks who will be here. And this is likely to be the first time that there are so many monks who are here. So he has a lot of merit then to pass away, to be separated at this time when there are so many monks present. And one needs a lot of merit for that to happen. And really everything is just set up just perfectly. That Luang Por Anan is in Australia already, and he's able to come here as well. So he needs a lot of merit to have this, to have the causes for this to arise. And he had ordained for a long time within this life, and probably been a monk for many previous lives as well, not just this present life. So it's not easy to ordain. To stay as a monk for just 3 months is difficult, but he managed to do it for over 10 years. And he created a lot of parami during that time. But this opportunity also depends upon its causes and conditions, and it's not something that we're able to control. So this is something that we should get to know about. Like before we listen to this chanting, and this is something that we should recollect as well. So we listening to this Dhamma and listening to this chanting as well, for our friend, for our teacher who has passed. But we should also reflect that it's not just him who's going to pass, that all of us need to be separated from this world as well, following our own causes and conditions, that we can't stay on, that this world by its nature is constantly changing. And the mind is the traveller who moves on to the next life and the next life, and going between birth and death, birth and death. And this is something which we have gone through a huge number of times before we arrived in this life. And the bones that we have left behind from our previous bodies could cover this entire world. And that's just how many lives that we have had. So there was a Brahmin called Diganaka who went up to Vulture's Peak seeking out a pure place to die, a place where no one had died before. But through his good fortune he met with the Buddha. And the Buddha said that you yourself have died here many times before. And he believed the Buddha. And through that, then, this really shook his mind. And he thought, well, we all need to die so many times like this, that life is something really not sure, that it's not something we're able to control. And he didn't want to get old, to grow sick, and to die. And really this is someone that no one wants. But Diganaka Brahman, he was the nephew of Sariputta, a great disciple of the Buddha, foremost in wisdom. And even so, he didn't like this. He didn't like old age. He didn't like sickness. He didn't like death. And he wanted to be able to escape from these. But the Buddha said that, well, you have to receive these, and when you do, will you feel happy or will you suffer? And he responded that I'll suffer. That he was able to accept that this is normal, it's nature of things to be like this, that I need to grow old, to become sick and to die. I'm not able to escape from that. So therefore, while we are still breathing, we shouldn't be careless, but rather we should try to create as much goodness, as many skillful actions in generosity, in our virtue, in our meditation as we can. To come to study the Dhamma, to gain an understanding into the Dhamma. It's like all of you, you come to this monastery very frequently, listening to the teachings of Ajan Kalyanu. And then you should take these, think about them, reflect upon them. How when we're born, we must die. That wherever there is birth, there will also be death. And so this, upon having been born, death follows us all the time. And the world, it's spinning the whole time. We're constantly getting older and older, following causes and conditions. That there are some people here who are 70 or 80 years old, and so you know then that the time you have left, it's not long. But the people who are younger than that should reflect that perhaps I won't even make it to the age of 70 or 80, that it's not sure. And why? Because this body may pass away first. So before, when I was younger, I didn't have the thought of ordaining. And I was a lay person, happily practicing generosity, virtue and meditation of a lay person. And experiencing an ease, a lightness of body and mind, and gaining happiness from offering food to the monks on alms round, the happiness of keeping the 5 precepts and the 8 precepts. But my life reached a point where I saw the nature of the Dhamma appear and saw how all lives must come to death, that we're just not able to stay on, that sankharas, these bodies, they need to break apart. They're not genuine things. They don't have a core to them. And this gave me a sense of sobriety, that life, it's not sure like this. We all must die like this. So then what should we do then? We need to find a way out, a way to escape old age, sickness and death. And that way is practicing the Dhamma. So when we know the nature of material and immaterial things as being anicca, dukkha, anatta, so constantly changing and stressful and not self, then we're able to let go of them, realizing that this is the nature of them, the nature of the body. But the mind, it doesn't die. And the mind knows the Dhamma, then it's able to abide above old age, sickness and death, and to go beyond happiness and above suffering. And that's because the mind understands the nature of life and of all conditioned things, all material and immaterial things, and that they all depend upon conditions. So therefore we should use this opportunity that we have to build up goodness. So like today we have come together like this to recollect this member of the Sangha and our teacher who is separated from us. But it's just his body that is separated. However, the goodness that he created, it's still here. And his mind created a huge amount of goodness. So through the goodness that we have created as well, we can determine this, and that he may go to a happy destination, that he may have a good future life, and have the opportunity to carry on building his barami until he sees the Dhamma, and in the end, in one life, attains to the Dhamma. And see how in this life he had this great faith to recollect the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha as his highest refuge, and that he had no other refuge, that he was really firm within the triple gem, firm within goodness. And this is an energy that can take his mind to entering Buddha, this state of awakening in one life. So today we have created this goodness of meditating and of chanting. And through that goodness then may his mind become brighter and brighter. May he gain a good birth and carry on cultivating his barami until he finds freedom from samsara. And so I will finish the Dhamma talk here. A1.